A Connemara day dawns crisp and bright, and at Uachtarard Garda headquarters, the Poitín patrol prepares to take to the hills and the high seas. Sergeant Joe Boyce and his team have been harrying the moonshine men day and night for the past 6 weeks. And today they'll break a good many more hearts before they finish. The high-speed inflatable dinghy is the Guard's latest weapon in the war on the Poitín makers, the men who make thousands of pounds on their illicit brew at this time of year. Traditionally, the Poitín men could run rings round the Garda on the chain of offshore islands to the west of Lettermore. But with better equipment, an improved communications network and harder policing, the Garda are beginning to turn the tables. This morning there are to be raids on 3 uninhabited islands, Inishirk just behind us here, Dainish and Frehalon, islands which in the past have provided huge hauls of poitín in the pre-Christmas raids. Up to quite recently, 4 families used to live on this small island, but the hardship and the isolation finally forced them to leave in 1982. According to the Garda, it has a poitín-making tradition which goes back countless generations. And as they searched about the deserted cluster of houses and outhouses that comprise its east village, it didn't take them long to pick up the trail. The smell of fermenting barley alone is the single biggest giveaway. And sure enough, this disused barn was being used as a still house. And as the door was booted in, the full haul came into view. The 60-gallon barrels full of fermenting wash or beer ready for distillation. A relatively small haul and no sign of any poitín, but a cosy little operation which would nevertheless have yielded hundreds of pounds between now and the new year. But the only place this half-made booze was going was down the drain. At the bottom of the garden, the long arm or the strong arm of the law really got going. Seeing days and weeks of work streaming away down to the sea would be enough to break many a heart. But to the poitín maker, seeing his barrels being wrecked is an even bigger blow. These casks can cost from 20 to 30 pounds to replace, and getting them out from the mainland is quite an operation. And in the absence of a first aid kit, there's only the island stream to wash away the bloodstains. Before they leave Inishirk, all that now remains to do is to dismantle the still used to produce the fiery island brew. A Guinness keg and 2 tar barrels form the main part of the do-it-yourself still, but as is nearly always the case, the vital worm or copper heart of the still is missing. And so this particular poitín maker will probably live to brew another day. 20 minutes later and the Poitín patrol is on the high seas once again, making for Dainish Island, half a mile away, northwards towards the mouth of Kilkieran Bay. This is unquestionably one of Connemara's most beautiful islands. Within minutes of their landing, the seashore begins to yield up vital clues. Industrial gas, which nowadays is used to eliminate giveaway smoke trails on these islands. And then the first of a honeycomb of dugouts in which barrels of wash have been concealed. But here and there there's a telltale patch of slightly withered grass, then plastic, then planks, and below the barrels of beer. 40 gallons of beer yields about 6 gallons of good poitín, which would sell at 100 to 120 pounds if it slipped through the net. Last year, another Garda force wrecked this little shed when they found a similar hole here, but it was rebuilt during the summer months. There's no standing on ceremony here, as rocks, stones, axes and hammers are used to rip the makeshift stillhouse asunder. But the Gardaí make no apologies. They say they're quite simply determined to make life as difficult as possible for poitín makers. Poitín, in their opinion, is not only highly illegal, but also a most dangerous brew, which has broken many a heart and many a home. To the more romantically minded, this may seem a harsh judgment, when only a few years ago people spoke of legalizing this trade and turning poitín making into a money-spinning industry. But no industry, with IDA or Údarás na Gaeltachta blessing, ever emerged, and the law is the law. As the afternoon wore on, more and more hidden caches were found, until it seemed that we must be standing on top of one vast subterranean brewhouse. The final tally, 600 gallons of wash, which would have made at least £1,200 worth of moonshine.
We're out here in Danish Island, and we're making our way to 3 more. Over and out.
News of the progress of the raids is communicated back to headquarters in Údarás on a regular basis. And by mid-afternoon it's time to begin the third and final island assault. This time it's back out to sea to Frehalon Beg. And sure enough, as they mount the summit of the little hill which dominates this bleak island, the evidence is all about. Another makeshift distillery. And all of the other ingredients are there too, the sugar and the yeast, and Rye smiles all about as the instructions turn out to be in both French and Arabic. Chateauneuf de Frehalun, peut-être, and distilled on hand-won peat to add to its bouquet and quaintness. But there's to be no sentimentality or romantic dawdling on Frehalon Hill. The only water this drop of the creature will ever mix with is Atlantic blue, and poitín on the rocks suddenly takes on a whole new dimension.